Now, I have been playing a lot of Diablo 4. I played the betas. I played all of the classes. I got 9 classes all the way maxed out during the beta, including some hardcore as well as softcore. Killed the bosses and did all of that stuff. And during that time, I had an experience with the classes. I ended up making a tier list that looks something like this, just based upon my early game knowledge. Again, this is a tier list based upon the early game knowledge. But there is a very fair point that people make when they watch a video like a tier list, in which they say things like tier lists are not applicable to a game like Diablo 4. So why don't we address that conversation today instead of avoiding it, and look into the points that the audience makes when somebody like me makes a video on a tier list. For instance, one such comment: while Druid was the worst out of any class in the beta test, we didn't have any class mechanics that you unlock in Chapter 2. Plus, Blizzard said it's a class that needs levels and skill points the most, but scales the best. So I suspect Druid being in the top 3 on launch, probably A tier, but on top of Necro. The rest seems pretty accurate. So there's a couple things going on with this comment here. A lot of this I actually really agree with, but it's framed as me disagreeing with it. So let me break it down. So while it's true I put Druid, the class I have the most experience with, all the way at the bottom of the tier list, I don't actually fundamentally disagree with the point that the Druid might actually scale the best. In fact, I have a video on this actual point. If you go and look, Diablo 4's high damage Werebear Druid build talks about how the modifiers of the Werebear in particular, when it comes to the pulverize, so things like the shockwave wave, etc., have very, very good modifiers. The problem is, none of us have got to experience it yet, right? We need the Paragon boards with willpower and Werebear damage. We need all of the skill points from the Renown in order to be able to rack up all of the ranks we need of the abilities that are going to do so much damage. We also do need those spirit boons. He's 100% correct. That wasn't unlocked in the first beta. So we're missing some key points. Druid may start slow, but that's the point of the tier list. You see, the point of this tier list is to show you when you start the game and 5 friends all start together, the choice of the class you will make will tell you how accelerated your progress is going to be. If I start the game as a Druid and right next to me starts a Rogue, that Rogue will hit level 50 faster than I will as a Druid. He will be stronger earlier. He will be pushing the content sooner than I might be. Now, when we get to the ultimate in-game a year later where we're all maxed, I might have him peaked out in the Druid, but all of the time it took up to get there, the Rogue was going to be superior. Now, admittedly, part of this is my fault, because when you put in title stuff like who to play, what's the best class, you're not able to put the full context of what's the best class to start. What's the best class if what you're trying to do is blast the fastest soonest? What's the best class if what you're attempting to do is be a world's first clear? Because you see, in a Diablo game, very typically, people want to be pushing content as fast as possible, and you might want to do that with Druid. I myself will be doing it as Druid, but I can tell you from experience, people playing the other classes will be faster from the beginning, and that's the point of the tier list. It is a very easy conversation to have where you can break down from a beginner's point of view what class will help you accelerate with a skill floor that is either lowered or a damage output ceiling which is higher earlier into the game. That is the contextual part of the context that is very difficult in these tier list conversations, because most of the time when somebody sees a video like mine and kitty cat's meowing at me, they're going to skip directly to the end and they will look at the rankings and see, oh, he's got Druid all the way at the bottom, but the devs themselves had said Druid is the strongest class, and they will throw all nuance of the conversation, context, or what we're actually talking about for the sake of the video out the window just because they see it ranked lower than another class. So are tier lists trash? Most of them probably are, if the tier list is specifically trying to tell you what's the best in-game class. We don't have that information yet. But if we're having a tier list based upon the experiences we've had and based upon how you can accelerate your pace of the game from the start, which I have over 100 hours in already from the start of the game. I've done, at this point, 9 characters in one beta, 2 in the next beta, so 11 characters max through the first 2 acts. I can tell you without a shadow of a doubt, there are classes which are faster than the other classes. This isn't even a debatable fact. This is something that we see across the board from every professional player will state some classes are better than the others. We have people like Crypt coming out saying no doubt he's playing a sorcerer on launch. We have people stating why they're playing certain classes, and no one seems to debate that aspect of it from the beginning, because people will go out there and state it from a standpoint of this is a strongest class, it is a very strong class. But when you actually try to break it down on the list, suddenly everyone has an issue with that. So are tier lists trash? Probably. They're probably trash. The video I put out, like this one, talking about Diablo tier list, what's the best, who's to play, is more of a conversational point, and there's no way my tier list can be accurate at this point. But if you're wondering why people like me make these videos, why we like discussing them, it's because tier lists are something people search for. The audience directly asks for it. You can see it with the external data. People want to know what people like me think about the classes, even if we're wrong. At a minimum, it is a conversation, and we all learn something from stuff like the comments. So I myself like making tier list videos, even though they're not always 100% accurate. If you're one of the people that enjoy nuanced debates about Diablo 4 conversations or gameplay footage, or if you're just interested in seeing Druid footage, as I've been studying Druid primarily, consider subscribing and hitting the bell to this channel, as every single day we will have a Diablo 4 video, and a lot of those will be about the Druid class.